a man of integrity.
I try to make sure my motivation is pure. And hey, making money, there's nothing wrong with making money.
No, 100%. No.
Relationship comes first, for sure.
Everybody, welcome back to the FIP Printing Pros podcast. I'm your host, Josh Steinison. As always, we got my co-host here, Chris Lockwood. And today we got Edward Berry, and he is a realtor for Engel Völkers. And he's also a former, or whatever, I don't know, you're not like Marines where you guys they're always an Air Force.
Sensitive like the Marines.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's so we just had a Marine on, so I had to be careful how sensitive if you're former Air Force is what we have here.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on, Josh.
Yeah, no problem, man. So obviously now you're a real estate agent, but take us back, I guess, to your initial, I guess, journey into getting into that. You obviously were in the military for a little while, but prior to that, like, what were you always thinking you wanted to do? Did you have anything in your mind that you were wanting to do, or how did that all kind of come about and where you are now in life?
Well, originally it was just a transitionary period. I was planning on getting into real estate. It was real hot through COVID, so figured I'd get out of the military, make some money before going back to school, and decided I didn't want to do what I was planning on. I was going to school to be a doctor, but
okay.
I found out that was not my passion. Changed gears. I fell in love with the entrepreneurship journey and just dug my feet in the ground and stuck with it.
So you were in the Air Force for how long were you in the Air Force?
4 years.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Just one contract.
Okay. And you, as far as that goes, like, what was your job that you did and everything?
So I was aircraft armament technician, I think was my technical name. But so I basically loaded bombs, missiles, guns, worked on the racks and launchers whenever they pulled them off the jets. Had some cool experiences with that. So.
That's super cool.
Every time I think about those kind of jobs, you remember the cartoon? I think it was like Bugs Bunny where it had that little thing that was beating on the bomb. Every time I think about those guys doing that, putting them big bombs on the planes, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I would be that dumbass that would be out there wanting to do that because I saw it on the cartoon.
Yeah, definitely temptation.
Did you have to ever do with what was the Moab or whatever was it? Mother of all bombs?
No, we learned about it, but I don't think I ever came into contact with that one.
Okay. So like you were just like loading it into the jets and unloading and type of stuff is basically.
So my main job was like taking the racks apart whenever they pulled them off the jet. It's called off equipment maintenance. But I was part of a specialized crew, I guess you could say, for what's called ICT loads, inter-combatant training loads. The jets would come down, flip a U-turn while they were still on. They'd bring down the engines to idle, and we would come in, reoxygenate, refuel, and load bombs all at the same time. So that was probably the coolest experience that I had.
Pit crew.
Yeah,
basically.
Fighter jet.
Yeah, pit crew for a fighter jet.
Yep. That shit in NASCAR.
Yep.
So I'm Army, so obviously I'm not like very familiar with like the other branches totally like of what they're. So I think Air Force obviously. Jets like you're talking, but I also know Navy was the ones that always had the submarines out there that had the jets on them. So like, is that do the Air Force actually on the subs or not subs? Sorry, aircraft carriers. Yeah, sorry.
No, so usually Navy has their own F-18s as their main. They have F-35s as well, but Air Force is mainly just on ground. Sometimes they do like forward unit operations where they'll set up like bases with. Runways that are basically abandoned, and they'll go back in, reset them up, and do something like that. But other than that, it's mainly just the bases that they keep their aircraft at.
Gotcha. That's something I was always.
I bet that means that Navy pilots think they're better than Air Force pilots.
Do you guys have competition with that stuff or what?
Unspoken.
That's awesome. Okay, so you go for how long were you in the Air Force? You said.
In the Air Force for 4 years.
Okay. And then did you join like right out of high school or?
No, I was 22 when I joined, so I was about 3 years out of high school. I got my associate's degree first, just gen ed, and then went in.
So what changed, I guess, from wanting to be a doctor? Like, what is there something that happened that like changed that whole trajectory of like wanting to do that?
I guess I just kind of woke up and realized that I wasn't pursuing my career path for the right reasons. I was basically just trying to please other people and make some money, get a respectable doctor in front of my name, and I didn't want that for my life, so switch
good.
gears.
It's good you recognize that. But nothing specifically that like just like happened that like just totally changed it. It was just like you just realized you were not doing it for the right reasons.
God kind of just woke me up.
Did you now you're married now, right?
Yes, sir.
When did you meet your wife?
That was in, let's see, 2017, I believe we met. We started dating in 2018.
Okay. And at that time, were you in college or for to be a doctor, or was that after?
I think I was just prepping for the Air Force because I had to lose a significant amount of weight to join. So that was like that was right after I graduated, and right before the military is whenever we met.
Okay.
So I was just working. She was a hostess. I was a bartender at a fine dining restaurant that closed down a few years ago called Craft Cuisine. And yeah, she was helping me out while I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to fulfill everybody's orders. And she was running the cards, and I realized she was a good teammate. And
cool. That's awesome.
Started going from there.
And then, but you'd already at that point already transitioned away from wanting to be a doctor.
No, so that actually happened pretty recent, like I would say 2.5, 3 years ago after I got out of the military. Because I was actually I did a 5 or 6 month internship with an orthopedic surgeon here in town. Shout out Dr. Cannon. He's a very good surgeon. And after that, I was still kind of hell-bent on going to med school, but whenever I actually took a trip out of country, and that kind of opened my eyes to what real life looked like.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when the transition happened, where I was like, I don't think I'm pursuing this for the right reasons.
So what you mind talking about, like what you saw when you took your trip that kind of changed that, or?
I still have trouble putting it into words. It was I felt like I just saw past the facade of what I was trying to live up to, or kind
of the prestige, the professional doctor,
right?
You know, those kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw past the fake news that everybody kind of like most people do shoot for. I say most people. I'm not sure. I'm not in other people's heads, but I was definitely chasing worldly things, and I just,
So what brought you to real estate?
Well, so that was just by circumstance. I had some friends that were in real estate. My whole life I grew up with family friends that were very successful brokers and realtors. My parents had a couple rental properties. My mom was a realtor for a short amount of time. And so I saw people become successful and chase their dreams with real estate. And I figured it was a good way to make money, and decided to jump into it. Like I said, it was just originally it was supposed to be just for transition from the military to applying to med school, but it was where I was at whenever my eyes were open. So
a lot of people, so you're a real estate agent, right? But not a broker, correct?
Correct.
So you work under a broker's license.
Yes.
How does that play in with being an entrepreneur too?
I see. So I'm technically a contracted 1099 employee, I believe, is what we're considered. My actual LLC's name is Edward Berry Realtor LLC. So I own that company, and I have like an allotted budget for marketing. So I basically use my broker's name and presence to back my name and my presence. So Engel Völkers specializes in premium residential real estate globally. We have over 1,600 locations worldwide. We're on 5 continents, and we have over 16,000 agents, I believe. Don't quote me on that one.
I didn't realize it was that big.
I've never, yeah. It's other than when you switched over to them, I didn't even heard the name before.
Right. So we actually just opened in Ocala. The Ocala location just opened about a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah, right out a year ago.
That's about when you started, wasn't it? Pretty close to it?
No, I started real estate about 3 years ago.
No, I mean when you switched to them.
Oh, Engel Völkers? Yeah. So I actually, the last brokerage I was at, we had an amazing transaction coordinator. Once I was under contract with any of my clients, I'd basically give her the files and tell her, please make sure this deal closes. And like clockwork, she would make sure they all closed. She was very good with back-end paperwork, making sure everything was managed correctly. She had all of her systems in place. Barbara O'Brien is her name. And everybody that tried to recruit me, I always told them, like, you're not getting me. There's no way. But whenever I would spend time alone and kind of brainstorm on what I wanted. Originally, I wanted to own my own brokerage. And I would brainstorm on what a perfect brokerage would be, including like social media presence, mailers, phone scripts, which you can kind of get anywhere, presentation systems, just what a perfect brokerage would be. I even like created I wrote it all down, made a PowerPoint about it and everything. And I kid you not, about 2 months later, the broker, Buzzy York, the broker manager at Engel Völkers, came to me and started talking to me and had every single thing that I wrote down in my PowerPoint. So I took that as a sign. I went to their grand opening with the CEP, the ribbon cutting. That presentation was amazing. They hosted a great party. They looked very professional. Everybody presented extremely well, and I just took it as a sign and said, "Buzzy, I'm coming to work with you." He's a Marine veteran as well, so.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So it was like all the stars were aligning, and I was just like, "All right, Barbara, you're a great transaction coordinator." I even asked her if she would work on the side, but she's not doing that. She's taking the low. But yeah, it was they had everything that I thought could possibly make a good brokerage.
So you said they have like multiple locations. Is it like a franchisee owner brokerage, or is it like
Yes.
one owner that everything?
So our chain of command, you could say, Ocala is under Florida, Engel and Völkers. Florida is under the Americas, and then Americas are under the global brand of Engel and Völkers. So we're all connected. We all coordinate, but there are, like I said, there's a chain of command going all the way up to global.
Okay, gotcha.
And so you're at 1099. What does that mean in terms of entrepreneurship? And being a business owner. Yeah, we got.
Okay. So basically, I run everything as if I'm operating myself. I just operate underneath Engel and Völkers. So I pay for my own marketing. I set my own schedule. I talk to my own clients. I keep my own CRM. Client relation management system.
Yeah.
So I basically pay for and manage everything underneath the name of Engel and Völkers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And does that answer the question?
Yeah. So, and the reason I'm asking this, I want to really get into that, is we were talking on an earlier episode about, if you want to get into business ownership, if you want to get into that, a lot of times the best way to do that is to fall under someone that's already doing it. Either
Correct.
You work for them as an employee until you can work your way up in a business, or what you're doing, which is a similar but different model to where you are your own business.
Right.
You are your own, entity, but you do it under the umbrella of a larger corporation. So you get what do you benefit? How do you benefit from their from their structure as a business owner yourself?
So, like I was mentioning before, I came up with a perfect brokerage in my head and wrote it all down. They had the entire system already laid out. Like, if I were to open up my own brokerage, I would have to do social media templates. I would have to go to FIP and create templates for their handwritten letters and mailers that I would have to send out. I would have to build an entire face of a company that also is able to coordinate with other brokerages around the world. I would have to build an entire corporation in order to operate at the same level that I'm operating on under Engel and Völkers. So I would say they are the skeleton of a body that you can fulfill.
Yeah.
Like they give you the structure that you need in order to be able to put the money into the marketing, because you can have all the money in the world. If you don't know where to spend it, it's not going to do anything for you. So they provide all of the materials that you need to be able to get your name out there and conduct business and show up with confidence. Because if you don't have a name that you can truly say, hey, look, if I list your home and it hits the market right now, there's no other company in the world that has a higher chance of selling your home than mine does. And I can say that with complete confidence, because since 1977, they've been building a name around the world.
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that like a lot of, and it's not, there's other companies other than like real estate agents and things like that. It's a similar model where you have the 1099 people that come in and do all basically the selling and whatnot for you. That a lot of people don't, like, I think in their head, like, realize, oh yeah, this is like their business, like this is their, because you're based off of only if you sell this company. So you don't make money otherwise if you don't sell this house or
Right.
or whatever the case may be. And I think a lot of people don't like fully capture that. And I almost like can compare it to like a franchise model, like where you're underneath the umbrella of like a big name franchise company, but you own this location. You're owning your entity of like
Right.
selling homes and whatever.
So it's like the Matrix. Like Engel and Völkers is the big parent company, and then they have the hierarchy like I was talking about. But then like Buzzy and Tamara York bought the Ocala.
Yeah.
Engel and Völkers Ocala, and then I work under Engel and Völkers Ocala.
Yep.
So it's exactly what you said, just one step even further into the matrix. So I'm just a contractor to Engel and Völkers Ocala, which is contracted to Engel and Völkers Florida, America, Global.
So okay, hold on. So I can't remember the name you said, but they basically bought the Ocala area.
I believe they have, what is it called? Veto power over anything in Marion County. No, there's another office is not allowed to open without their permission in Marion County.
Okay,
I believe.
I see.
It's named Ocala just because.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
But
Marion
so
County.
they bought the rights basically to have this area. So if you wanted to, like, the next step for you, if you wanted to do what they do, would you have to become a broker at that point? Would you have to get the broker's license?
Yes.
Or, yeah. Okay.
Yes, and then I would be able to operate by myself. So I see that it's so clear to me now that because I'm in the industry, but it is very confusing. I'm like a salesman entrepreneur at the same time. Like I run, because I have to generate my own leads. I have to build the relationships with the people that will use my services, and my services are selling their home. Sorry if that was very loud.
Oh, that's fine. I've done it already too.
So yeah, I generate the leads and I sell the house.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like there's different levels to it, and the business end of it is almost illusory because my product is selling your house.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to sell you me,
Yeah.
which is going to sell your house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is a little confusing. Yeah, it's very hard to explain.
What limitations do you have when it comes to, because you mentioned about they already have the structures in place for like the mailers and that kind of thing. What flexibility or limitations do you have with how you can market yourself?
So unless it's absolutely terrible and degrading, there are basically no limits as far as Engel and Völkers put it. That as far as the ones that Engel and Völkers puts on me. Now, for as by Florida statute, I am not allowed to advertise myself as a brokerage office group. There are certain words, verbiages that I cannot use to make people think that I'm my own broker.
Yeah, you have to, like, if I remember correctly, you have to say you're a realtor or a real estate agent, correct?
If I'm on the phone,
Yeah.
Yes, I have to disclose that. Yeah, so for the marketing, it's more of you have to make it extremely clear that you are a real estate agent or realtor, and not a broker, because I have to operate underneath a broker.
Right.
So that's the main stipulations that they put as far as like advertising and marketing goes.
Yeah, because I've seen some of the guys, not to cut you off, but I've seen some of the videos you'll see on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or something like that, to where, the guys walking through the house, and sometimes some of them say some outrageous shit that makes me laugh. But then it's like, that's kind of the kind of guy I want to be my real estate agent.
Well, it's funny he says that, because I was actually going to bring that up. One of the things that you created was a TikTok page that I've seen tons. You see a bunch of like virtual videos people go through and walk through the house, and it's just like, oh, look at this thing here. Yeah. Look at this. This is beautiful.
Swipe.
Buy it for $300,000 or whatever. And then I come across, all of a sudden you're coming in like, all of a sudden you're like in the front yard with a football, like, said hi, like, or whatever, like going around, like, and then like just throwing outrageous stuff. Like, I can't even think about the outrageous stuff you were throwing out there, but like.
Yeah, those are called hooks. There's a whole psychology behind social media, but yeah, as far as that goes, there's not much limitation. You do have to put your brokerage's name in any advertising. Like like on your card, it has to say, like in my case, Engel Völkers. Whenever I was with Global Wide Realty LLC. So just any advertising that you put out, you have to have your broker's name on it.
So you're like, okay, so because I still get the calls to this day, like, hey, you want to sell your home? I'm with blah, blah, blah. They have to say their name? That's by law?
If it's on a phone call, you just have to disclose that you're a
realtor.
A realtor.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
They're probably just saying that to like give themselves credibility.
Yeah, because most of them are like your more recognizable names.
Exactly.
Like type of stuff. But it's interesting. I didn't realize that you had to disclose that. Mm-hmm. I actually was going to be a realtor there for a while on the side and do it at nighttime after hours of work. When I was trying to do way too much with my life.
Yeah.
And then I got to the test. I literally did the whole thing. I did all the quizzes, the test or whatever, leading up to the final test. And I was like, you know what am I doing? Like, I didn't even take the final test. I did all that time. I spent the money on the things, and I was like, why am I doing this? I need to focus more on my business and everything. And then so I decided not to take the test and move forward with it. But yeah, I don't remember that part that you had to disclose that part. But anyways, yeah.
No, I know a lot of military folks that go and become realtors. I got a good friend here. He's actually lives down in the villages, but he's a realtor. He's prior Army. What is it about that field that draws so many former military people to being a real estate agent?
Well, like I said before, I jumped into real estate because of the people I was surrounded with growing up, and then specifically getting out of the military. I had two friends that were I think they still are realtors, and they were doing well, so that's why I was jumping in. But if I had to guess, from being in the military to jumping into real estate, it's probably the competition.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like that it's extremely competitive, and whenever the market isn't so hot and it's not firing like it was, a lot of people drop off, and if you can be one of the last ones standing at the end of it, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you're not making $1 million a year, if you can make it work, and everybody else is falling off and starting their little side hustles and getting their jobs and stuff, and you can just make your main income real estate, it feels pretty good.
Well, and right now you're in the right county and city area to be a realtor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's saturated with a lot of realtors, don't get me wrong, but if you're able to, like, at least how I think you are, I mean, it seems like you're putting yourself out there quite a bit, that you are becoming recognized as one of the, really top realtors in the area. At least that's.
I wouldn't say top realtors, but in our circle,
maybe our circle.
I mean, that's kind of the point. That's what I'm trying to do, make it seem like it. So, I would say to that, I would just say it's our relationship. Like, it's really easy to shoot me a text and be like, "What's up, man? How's everything going?"
Yeah.
All the social media is great. All the mailers, marketing, you can put as much money as you want to into online advertising and everything. But if you're not building relationships with people and showing people that not only they can trust you with their biggest investment of their lives, but also showing that you're going to be there after the transaction happens and you're still going to be maybe not best friends, but like you can call me whenever you want to or need to. That's the main thing that will allow you to create a sustainable business is the relationships. Yeah,
I mean that we keep touching back on this with all of our podcasts. That the topic, it just always comes back: relationships. It's every single business. Like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, relationships is what will grow your company, because you got to get that trust, especially for you. I mean, you have to build that trust so much because, I mean, a lot of realtors could just like tell you, "Oh no, this is the price," that you can't negotiate, just so they make a little more money. But I know for working with you that you're the type that's going to work for your client.
Absolutely. I'm not trying to nickel and dime anybody. Because you're going to look back, you're going to look at the numbers that have been ran, and you're going to realize if I gypped you or not.
Yep.
There's like, if you're buying a house, you're not stupid. I've never met a stupid person.
Well, I mean, you might come across.
Maybe. Personal opinion is personal opinion. But if you are a competent individual, if you're buying a house, you can fill out paperwork, you can look at numbers, you can compare apples to apples. So anybody that I'm working with, I make sure that I do them right, because number one, I wouldn't be able to sleep if I didn't. But number two, they will find out, and I do not want to look a person in the eyes that I've screwed over. Never want to.
Well, and you obviously hearing about your transition from not feeling like it was just I can't remember the verbiage. You used the verbiage that it
wasn't his calling.
Yeah, well, it wasn't his calling, but you also said basically that it just you were going after it for the wrong reasons, basically. So like now, I mean, that would be for the wrong reasons still, if you're trying to just get every little nickel and dime and do it like that. So like you're very, from my experience of knowing you, you're a man of integrity.
I try to make sure my motivation is pure. And hey, making money, there's nothing wrong with making money.
No, 100%. No.
Relationship comes first, for sure.
And also, I guess we are in a bigger community, but we are still, like, relationship-wise, a small community. Everybody knows everybody in some form or capacity.
Right, 100%, yes.
And so if you do screw somebody over, it'll get back to you. So you don't ever, that's another part of it, is you don't want to ever mess that up with that relationship by doing something like that for somebody. So, it's your character, but also it's good business.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, everybody knows everybody around here. So if you screw over one person, you're probably just going to be outcast from the rest of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and you don't stay in business very long if you do that. You know, regardless of whether you're a realtor or whether you're a print shop or a media company, if you get that reputation of not doing the right thing, it doesn't take long.
People talk.
Yeah, and even with the realtor, like the first thing I do is, because I'm working with a realtor right now in a commercial deal, and the first thing I did was I went to look to see what her social media looked like. Just because I was just curious, like if I'm going to, essentially now you pay your own realtor, your own agent, whether you're on the buyer or the seller side, and it's like, if I'm going to give you 3%, you better be worth it. I better know that you have my best interest at heart, regardless of what side of the equation that you're on, and it doesn't take long to figure that out, especially these days. So,
one thing I wanted to ask you too, because obviously, we're already in that communication right now, where I'm looking at, my wife and I are looking at trying to, get our own property and actually like try to build a family. We're at that point because right now we're in a fourplex, townhome, tiny spaces, and she's ready to make a house a home. And so what, from your perspective, just, for just the people watching on a realtor's side of things, what helps you the best from, all right, I want to buy a home? Like, what steps should they take at this point to help you out the best?
So one thing that's going to be necessary to buy a house is if you don't have the cash, then get them pre-approved, obviously, for a loan. And then second, for sure, without a doubt, is know what you want. And I don't mean like the exact amount of bedrooms, the exact amount of bathrooms, the exact amount of square footage. I mean, know what you want for the next 5 to 10 years in your life. Because if you can tell me your life situation and you can tell me how many kids you're planning on having, how important school is to you, because if you're homeschooling, I could put you in the middle of nowhere and you'd be happy because nobody would bother you.
I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah, if you're looking to bring multiple generations onto whatever property, like grandmother, mother, daughter, if you have any hobbies, if you want a workshop or a garage, just know exactly what you want for your life. Tell me what that is, and I can give you whatever property I can find. Hopefully I can find one to suit that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so get a pre-approval, and if you don't know where to go for that, I have very good connections that are honest and will tell you exactly how it is, whether you can or cannot afford it. And then know exactly what you want, because if you just give me 2 bullet points and a dream, I'm not going to be able to help you very much because I'm not a genie.
Yeah. Now, would you say, out of the people that come to you, do most of them know what they want, or do you have to really kind of walk them through it?
People are pretty straightforward on what they want. The biggest resistance factor, I would say, is like people will say they're okay with a fixer-upper, and then you come to a house that's not a new construction. They're like, "Oh, this isn't." I'm like, do you want the price point, or do you want the fix and flip? So, yeah, that's what I mean. More along the lines of get straight with what you want, because everybody wants a good price, but not a lot of people have a contractor in here, because if you want a fixer-upper, you're gonna be living in a fixer-upper.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
I think having expectations is an important
expectation. Exactly.
Realistic expectations.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, with the, I don't know how much knowledge you have on this, and so if you don't really have that knowledge, you can just tell us. But on the lending side, what are the things that people need to kind of get in order to prepare for buying a home?
So we won't get into details because I actually am not supposed to talk on them.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, but I can say documents. There are some things that you do need. So you're going to need bank statements for the last at least 3 months, maybe 4. You are going to need pay stubs, and you are going to need proof of employment for the past 2 years, and then everything else is going to be like credit score and
I can say some things because you can't.
Yeah.
Don't go out and buy a new car.
Oh yeah, I can say that. Yeah. Don't pull any. Yeah, don't
go get a new credit card.
Nothing major on your credit. Just
don't
leave your credit alone.
Job.
And even to that note, don't even pay off. Like if you have a car payment, don't pay it off yet. Like talk to the lender first before you do it. They'll tell you what you can and cannot do. Don't make any major credit moves if you're planning on buying a home, or job moves, because it has to be at least in the same field. So if you're working as a cosmetologist and then you go start a contracting job, you will not qualify for a loan. So,
okay. Yep. What would you say is one of the most, I guess, unique transactions you've done? Is there anything that comes to mind that we can't visually see? If you can, if it's easy to describe. It could even be like a multi-million-dollar sale, something like that was cool to you in some way.
Yeah, so it was not a multi-million-dollar sale. I think the house sold for around $400,000. But so this family was coming up from Miami, And they were predominantly Spanish speakers. The people that were actually purchasing the house were Spanish speakers, and I speak like a kindergartner, first grade level Spanish. So I was like, I'm taking these clients on. My wife translated a lot for me, and I had some coworkers that translated a lot for me. Their daughter was also moving with them. So I worked very diligently to find them the house of their dreams. They came up a couple times. We saw quite a few different houses, mainly new construction. The last time that they came up, they found the exact house that they wanted, and got all excited. It was at the price, literally exactly what they wanted. The finishes, the square footage, the lot was in the right place, and the lot was the right size. Exactly what they wanted. Left to go home to call the other realtor to say we're going to put in an offer, and they're like, oh, sorry, that one's under contract. And I was like, I literally talked to you yesterday. What do you mean it's under contract? So that kind of left us dead in the water. They were very disappointed. We had been looking for a couple months. Their house was also for sale in Miami, so everything had to work out perfectly, and this was a big hiccup. So I stayed on the realtor's case, kept pressing. Probably for about 3 weeks, I kept asking them, like, hey, do you have any more inventory? This is the exact house they want from this builder. They like everything about it. No. Like I said, after about 3 weeks, finally, oh, hey, I actually think we do have one that's going to be completed within about a month. It's not done yet, but it will be completed. So I'm like, yeah, let me go see that property. So that day, whenever he told me that, I went to go look at the address. Same exact house, actually a little bit bigger lot, same price point, and they jumped on that very quickly. And then touching on knowing exactly what you want. So this was a new construction, and most of them like buy all of the materials that they need for the home, like in bulk. So that if they're building like 5 homes, they'll buy all the material for all those 5 homes, and they'll be the same exact homes. So there's not much that you can do once it's being built to change anything. So they just kept asking for, like, can we put a bathtub here instead of a stand-up shower, and can we put a bidet instead of a regular toilet? I'm like, I don't think there's much we can do here. But everything worked out fine. They were happy with everything, and we finally closed. Thank God.
Sweet.
Through all the translations and everything.
How is it under contract? And because unless you already know the codes or whatever to get the key, because don't you have to communicate with that realtor to like get the codes and stuff like that?
That was why I picked that one, because like I literally talked to the realtor the day before, and he didn't say anything about it, even receiving an offer, but it was under contract.
Interesting.
And I'm like, why did you even let me go see the house? Like, I just got my clients' hopes through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about people wanting to make, because I bought a new build here in Ocala, 18 months ago?
Something like that.
Pretty close to 18 months ago. And I was talking to the builder. We were talking about, I was like, hey, can we do this thing a little different? They're like, nope, just like you said, this is a pre-planned subdivision. Everything is, he said, but what I have seen people do the day they sign their papers, they will have construction crews ripping out carpet, ripping up tile, ripping out cabinets. He said basically he's seen one lady completely gut the house and redo it the day she bought it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because, most of the stuff's builder quality. Anyway,
Yeah.
It's not like,
That's true.
it's not like, dude who was in here building quality. They're gonna go in there and make the changes, but a lot of times that's what people have to do. So let me ask you this, right? So the real estate market has been in a constant state of flux for like the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. Big time seller's market during COVID took a dip. Where do you see it? Like, where is it now? Are we kind of going back up on the upswing, or because I know
buyer's market, seller's market.
Yeah. Right now it's an extreme buyer's market. Like, I'm seeing people get 10% off the price of 10% off of asking price of the home.
Is that because they jacked it up so high, or?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a reset from COVID.
A little bit of that, a little bit of interest rates didn't come down.
Yeah.
So, especially if you have cash, right now is an amazing time to buy. Because if you can find a home that is hitting the market a lot of times the people are selling because they have like a strong motivation to sell. So they are willing, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they are willing to take a little bit of a lower price, which is the norm. We're just, for the past 2 or 3 years, oh my gosh, we were in bidding wars for $20,000, $30,000 over asking price. That never happened before in history. Crazy. So it's normalizing now. People are just a little, and like people are, they're just a little bit slow to readjust to what the norm was before. So right now it is a buyer's market. I would highly recommend if you are thinking about pulling the trigger, especially if you can afford the payment with the interest rates where they are, because I'm not even sure that they are going down. Like they're at 6.5 right now, and I'm not sure that they're going to go much lower than that. Just because if you put yourself in the bank's shoes, why would you lend out money to people that might default for less than a 6% interest rate? It's really not that. It seems like a lot to us because we're paying the interest rate every single month, but to them it's like 6%. Like, why would we lend out much less than this, especially whenever we just did 2.5 like a year ago?
Oh yeah.
So to answer your question though, where I see us readjusting is just kind of, I see the inventory, the homes that are on the market right now are sitting much longer than they used to. I would say on average from 4 to 5 months if they're priced and marketed correctly. I see that persisting for probably another good 4 or 5 months, and then maybe picking back up a little bit just to renormalize. But I don't see a huge pump or dump really anywhere.
Well, this is such a unique area too because there's so much new construction, so many people moving here.
That's what so I think part of the pump throughout COVID was our development, because the development was already going, and then COVID just like put the wheels on it. People were flocking to Florida because everything was open. Everywhere else was closing down, and DeSantis was like, you guys can keep partying if you want to.
I moved here during that time.
Yeah, and I'm sure you enjoyed it whenever you got here.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So I think that just exacerbated the growth even more so, and now with all the builders, so I look at it like this: if D.R. Horton and Lennar Homes, two of the biggest builders in the country, are still building, if they don't know that a crash is coming, then nobody knows if a crash is coming or not. And if they're still building, that's probably a good sign that a crash isn't coming, and growth is going to continue to happen, and that we're just normalizing for a little bit. Because I don't know if y'all know anything about Southwest Ocala, but down 49th, brand new road that they just put in, there's developments going on literally both sides of the road.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
They're building a new elementary school there. They're getting ready to build a new high school in the area.
They just put a bunch of like townhome condo-ish.
And they're putting a shopping mall as well, in addition to even more neighborhoods that are going over there.
As long as they don't build right behind my house, because it's still got a nice view of a horse track.
If the horse track's there, then
it's not built right there.
So yeah, I see the market more normalizing, most likely, because we've been so volatile for so long that the only option that I see is just like chilling out for a little bit, because nobody likes getting their bell rung every day for 3 years, 4 years straight.
So one last thing I think it'd be good to end on, but I think it's good to kind of discuss, and I don't know the exact way to describe this, but I know there's ways to do this that I think a lot of people don't realize. But in my buying experience, the realtor I had used in the past told me about these solutions, but I can't remember how they utilized it, but basically you can put it in on a contract, but it doesn't mean you're basically committing to that. You could always pull out and then go to another house, but basically it's almost like, okay, I think I like this place. Let's put a hold on it, but let's continue looking. I don't know how that works, but if you get what I'm trying to describe.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So whenever you submit a contract, there's multiple dates that you're going to put onto the contract. One's going to be the acceptance date, and that pertains to the seller, so the date that they have to accept your offer or deny it by, or else it's pulled. And then you also have your inspection period. So usually that's anywhere from 7 to 10 days. Right now, since it's a buyer's market, you could even stretch it to maybe 15. So within this period, you're going to get your inspection done. possibly your survey, and you're just going to do everything that you can to make yourself comfortable, and I'll guide you through everything to make sure that you're comfortable with the home. So whenever the inspector comes out, I always like to have my clients come out as well. I'm always there with the inspector. And he's going to go through every nook and cranny in the house. He literally has plugs for a plug for every single outlet. He makes sure they're all working. He checks every single switch to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. If it's a manufactured or mobile home, they'll get underneath the home to make sure that everything's correct. They'll go up in the attic, everything, bugs, structure, walk around the house to make sure there's no major cracks in the walls. And then within that 10 to 15 day period, if for any reason, it doesn't have to be due to the inspection, but if for any reason you don't want that house anymore, it could be because you want another house. You can pull out, get your escrow deposit back, and there's no penalty.
Yeah. That inspection is so key though. I got my fourplex that I'm in now, but it was shortly after that I was actually going to buy a triplex that was within a couple blocks away, and everything visually and also financially and everything was perfect. It was the house I'm going to do. I even had an idea because it was a stacked duplex off the side, but it was on the same property, and then there was a house over here, and the house was perfectly divided that I was just gonna wall it up and make it a duplex as well. So I was gonna make it, ultimately that property was gonna be a fourplex, but during my inspection time, thankfully I went that route and got an inspector and did the whole thing. Because they ended up finding out shoddy wiring. The previous owner did all you could tell it was not professionally done. Mm-hmm. Then there was also the foundation on the duplex was basically about to be condemned almost, level of foundation level. And then there was several other things, and all of it, this inspector's this guy did all of his remodel, and he does not know what he's doing.
Yeah, we call that the landlord special.
Yes. And he's this, you can ultimately do what you want to do, but I'm telling you need to run.
Don't walk.
Got a good inspector.
Yeah, he was very good. He was the one that did my inspection for the fourplex, so I trusted him and everything too. So, and when I was just, I think, because can you not get an inspection if you decide not to? Is it a must because your lender usually makes you?
Lender.
Yeah, but if you're paying cash, I don't think that's a requirement, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so that was something I learned too. Even if I ever get to that level that I'm going to pay cash, which I'm nowhere near that right now. But if on my investment properties, if I ever end up paying cash, I will never not get an inspection just to save some money.
Yeah, it's an investment. It literally is an investment getting the inspection, because it is depending on what you get, anywhere from $300 to $500. Yeah, if you get the works, then it'll be $700-800.
Yeah.
So it is an investment, but $700 investment is, in my experience, is 100% worth it if the investment is $250, $300, up to $700, $800,000
on just one property. It was commercial,
yeah.
For inspections and stuff like that, just to walk away from them because of what was found in the inspection.
Yeah,
especially commercial properties. I mean, you see people dropping tens of thousands of dollars on due diligence.
Yeah, so that I wanted to touch on that point just to kind of wrap things up, because I felt that was kind of really important to talk about too, because just the whole process, the contracts, inspections, and everything that kind of goes into the final process before they actually buy the home. But if you want to, how is the best way for people to, I guess, get a hold of you if they're looking for either somebody to sell their home, come to you, or they're looking to buy? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So the best way to reach me would be to call me at 352-272-9717, or you can text me or email me at edward.berry@evrealestate.com, and I'm sure we can put that on the screen.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we could probably even throw it in the description or something like that too. So also you can comment if you got any questions for him. I'm sure he'll be happy to hop in and answer any questions you got. But yeah, you got anything else that you think that off the top of mind think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, I'd like to say something if people are still listening. You guys touched on a couple of times. But if you feel like you're chosen and something greater is talking to you and calling you to something, you're not going crazy. Just keep following the calling.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, adapt and overcome. That's always, especially our military background. That's what we always learned. But all right, well, thank you guys. If you made it this long, we went a little longer than we normally do, but I appreciate you for watching. And again, as always, like and subscribe. And until next time, let's grow together.
It's time to step up. Yeah, it's grind time. No more letting up. No, running faster, further. No more running up. Yeah, giving my all. No more giving up. Listen to me. Step.